We have been taught that to be human is to be a collection of traumas, flaws, and emotional reactions. We call this messiness our humanity. But I'm starting to realize that this is just the wallpaper of a 100-year hypnosis prison cell. The default coherent human is not a person who has healed their way into perfection. The default human is what remains when you stop participating in the distortion. It is the original blueprint. In this state, I am learning to not process emotions but read information. I stop seeking love, I start to operate as a coherent field of love. It feels different in the body. It feels like a bone that has thickened under pressure. It is the ability to finally bite into your own life because you are no longer depreciating your own existence to make others feel comfortable. The default state is not cold, it's the warmest, most authentic frequency available because it is the only one that is actually real. Are you also ready to stop decorating the cage and start being the architect? You are trying to grow, to evolve, right? But sometimes it feels like your system is lagging or even actively fighting you. You're exhausted, maybe a bit insecure, and sometimes even physically sore. It all begins with a simple, profound wish to be more you. You need the awareness to see what you always used to do and what you would like to start doing. But here's the secret. When you make that wish, something deeper inside you, your timeless blueprint, hears it. And it begins a massive internal renovation in your body. Because as human beings, our body needs to be able to carry the changes. So our timeless self goes straight to the foundation, your bones. Your skeleton is the bedrock. This is why you might feel strange sensations like a toothache in your jaw or deep aches in your bones. Your bones are literally hardening, preparing to carry a much higher voltage, a stronger frequency. Once the foundation is solid, your body gets an upgrade. Your muscles, especially deep ones like the psoas, they've been holding old stress, old ways of protecting you, and now they're recalibrating, swelling, shifting, sometimes nagging, to support this new powerful frame. They're learning to move you from power, not just react to fear. Finally, the most sensitive parts, your energetic and emotional systems like your heart and solar plexus, start catching up. That feeling of insecurity you're noticing, that glitchy feeling, it's not a breakdown. It's simply the software update, bar, loading. Your emotional atmosphere is adjusting to this new, stable architecture underneath. You're not broken, you're building. Your body is not failing, it's evolving, from the inside out. Your true self has already set the new coordinates. Your only job now is to inhabit this incredible upgraded structure. I am moving away from the language of healing, evolving, and changing. I'm starting to look at life through the lens of the default setting. For me, the goal is no longer to become better. It is to return to my original architecture and see what was there before the world told me who to be. To let things, ideas, and concepts go. The default human is the version of you that exists beneath the hypnosis of the last 100 years or more. It is not a better version of you, it is the original architecture. In the default or coherent state, your nervous system is a high-fidelity sensor, not a trauma response loop. Your choices are governed by internal coherence, not external fear or social validation. You don't have identities, you have functions. The hypnosis in our current world is the wallpaper of shoulds rights, and trauma adaptations that we have mistaken for our personality. When I speak about the blueprint, I am speaking about the structural laws that govern the human being before the world tells you who to be. Are you ready to see the default human being, or do you want to keep staring at the wallpaper of your cage? Dear people, I want to speak to those of you who have been watching my very recent shift over this last week in my videos. I have spent years moving through the layers. First, it was about the mirrors, understanding the programs, and how you and I project those programs into the world, thereby creating our own experience. This is essential work. You cannot see what is real when you have not seen what is false. But I am making an enormous shift now. I am moving from analyzing the programs, from searching for my growth, to anchoring in my own default state. I am stepping out of the hypnosis entirely to the insightful searchers who have been watching my videos. We are going deeper. This is a step further than healing. To the new arrivals, the ones tired and feeling powerless and angry at the system, the conspiracy theorists, you are welcome here. I have lived every version of that. I've also been the lefty. I have been a right wing. I have felt the pull of the woke. I have felt the rage against the evil forces in this world. To the thinkers and the philosophers, this is more than just a new theory. It is a physical recalibration. Don't let the concepts that I mention keep you in your head. Your body is where the blueprint is found. To the seekers of truth, I'm not talking about transcending humanity. I'm talking about finally inhabiting it. The blueprint is about function, not just peace. And to my fellow guides who are exhausted by all the loops, thinking you solved programs, and then they were still there. We are not here to save the world from the hypnosis. We are here to wake up from the hypnosis ourselves fully. And I've realized something. Being angry at the hypnosis is participating in the hypnosis. Whether you are coming from the left, the right, the center, the fringe, your blueprint does not care about labels. It only cares about your coherence. I am not fully coherent yet. I am in transit, just like you. I can just finally see the coordinate of the space we are traveling to. I am finding that my own true nature, my blueprint, is the only place we can actually thrive, not in resistance, but in the origin of yourself. If you want to join the circle and talk live about this, the link is in my bio. And you can also join me on my Discord community to chat. Why does the default coherent human state feel so out of reach? Because for the last 100 years, we have participated in a massive generational handoff. We have traded our original blueprint for safety, layer by layer. While distortions have existed for millennia, this last century marks a transition from stumbling in the dark or organic coherence to systemic, industrialized hypnosis, turning the lights off and providing a screen. Think about your grandmother, your mother, and you. 100 years ago, the wallpaper was thin. You could still feel the raw power of the human blueprint underneath. But then the system seized the threshold. Your grandmother moved birth from the home to the hospital. She gave her birth power to a manager and became a patient at risk instead of a an architect in creation. This was not just a change in location, it was the seizure of the threshold. Birth is a coherent event where a woman is meant to realize her omnipotence. By medicalizing birth, the system inserted a manager between the woman and her power. It taught the last 4 generations that they are patients in a state of risk rather than architects in a state of creation. This created a structural break in the transmission of autonomy from mother to child. Your mother gave her cycle to the pill. She decoupled her biology from her intuition to become a reliable worker. And you gave your perception to the screen. This isn't just progress, it is the industrialization of the womb. We have created a structural break in the transmission of autonomy. You are not broken. You have just been born into a lineage that completely forgot how to hold its own frequency. The default human being is still there, waiting under the glue. Are you ready to peel it back? We think that the system is something out there, like a government or a narrative. But the real editing out of your power, the redaction, happened much closer to the bone. It happened at the thresholds, those critical entry points of life, like birth and death. In the last 100 years or longer, the 2 most sovereign moments in human life, birth and death, were moved from the field of the spirit into the basement of the institution. We traded the natural power of our arrival for a medical protocol. We traded the sovereignty of our exit for a managed sedation. This was a biological seizure. In other words, a hijacking of your biology. By managing how you enter and leave, the system installs a dependency script, a habit for looking for permission before you even take your first breath. It teaches your body that you are not the boss of your own existence. But to keep the cage closed, they also had to perform a perceptual seizure, a takeover of your vision. The last century was a project in standardization, a massive effort to make every human think and act the same. Through schooling and through screens, your gaze was neutered. You were rewired to stop trusting your own senses and start trusting the common narrative. The original human blueprint is designed for you to be an autonomous observer, an independent witness who takes in information and makes sovereign choices. But a human who trusts their own inner eyes is impossible to manage. So they taught you that your intuition is unscientific, just a fantasy, and that your deep internal alarm is just a chemical imbalance. They give you a pill to silence the signal, so that you can keep working. But that itch, that feeling that the wallpaper, the fake social layer, is a lie. That is not a disease. That is your source layer, your core self trying to wake you up. The biological seizure made you dependent, and the perceptual seizure made you blind. But once you see the design of this machine, the hypnosis breaks. The lights are coming back on. Are you ready to reclaim the entrance to life? You have seen the strings. You have counted the dots. You know they are doing it. You feel the squeeze. The toxins in the air, the water, the soil, the food, the control. And you think you are powerless. This is the ultimate illusion. The Illuminati, which means the enlightened ones, those who manage the great enchantment, are playing a zero-risk game. They are not just your enslavers. They are the architects of our friction. Their entire system is a forge. Every poison, every lie, every tightened chain is designed for one purpose: to see if you will choose to become a diamond. They are not stealing your power. They are creating the pressure that forces you to remember it. No species on this planet has the gift of absolute choice, like humanity has. You can choose to be flattened, or you can choose to expand. You can choose to be a slave to their frequency, or you can choose to ignite your own. They cannot take your sovereignty. They can only create the circumstances for you to surrender it. So when you see their plans, don't feel powerless. Feel the pressure and use it. It is not a trap, it's an invitation. The choice is not theirs. It has always been and will always be yours. What will you build? They want you to have thoughts, to have ideas, to have a plan. They want you to pick a side, pick a zone, fight a war, because if you are in your head, you can be hacked. So what if you stopped planning, having ideas, and just started being? I have spent many years watching the handoff. I have seen the womb being seized and the air being burnt. And I'm telling you, the only way out is in. My body is not a product of the system. My spirit creates my biology in every now moment. My hip is straightening, my psoas is releasing, and my gaze is clearing. Not because I follow a program, but because I stopped believing the hypnosis. The enlightened ones have no power over a human who has no fear for the end. Death is just another layer of the wallpaper. You are not powerless. You are just distracted by the illusion that you need permission to exist. You don't need a community or a city or a leader. You need to return to your default. The path is unfolding under my feet. I don't know where it goes, and that is why I'm free. The audit, the time of assessment, is over. The architect is here. Are you awake? The audit, the assessment, is over. But that doesn't mean the road splits in just two choices. The system, the WEF, the WHO, the United Nations, they want you to choose between their digital hive and their permitted alternatives. The United Nations and the WEF stated their plans quite clearly and openly in their Agenda 2030. They want to lock people in 15-minute cities under full control. And the other option is to be independent and to live in small communities. Outside of this, they want you to move from one cage to another and call it freedom. But the default human does not look for a new wallpaper. The default human is the territory. I am no longer looking for a community to hide in, and I'm not running from their agenda. I am simply following my own blueprint. I am moving through this world as a sovereign, answerable only to the law of my own biology and the origin of my own spirit. They can build their cities and they can map their self-sufficient zones, but they cannot map a human who has returned to their default state. I have straightened my spine and I have cleared my gaze. I am no longer a reliable worker or a managed rebel. I am an architect and I am walking my own path. Are you coming?